everyone, so I get a lot of questions about where I find yard sales and how I find them, and so I decided to do a video about it. I've done one a long time ago, but I deleted it for some reason or another. I sometimes do that. I'll look back at some of my older videos and I'll be like, oh my gosh, what was I doing, or and I just delete them because I'm like that. But I'm trying not to delete any of my videos anymore, just because I guess it can be informative, and so I am going to do one about yard sales, just about how I find them and all that. Now, with where I live in a town where yard sales are pretty prominent. Everyone knows what they are, everyone usually has one, but if you live in a bigger city, or someplace where there's not a lot of yard or whatever, they might not be as prominent and probably harder to find. But if you live in, areas like smaller towns and stuff like that, that's where there's a lot of like suburban areas, then it's probably a lot more prominent and easier to find them. And that's like the kind of town that I live in, so it's really easy for me. And every town's going to be different, so how I find yard sales and everything is going to be different than what everyone else does, more than likely. The first thing you can do to find yard sales is check your regular newspaper. Now, I don't get a newspaper because if I want to read the news, I do it online. But it costs money to list it in the newspaper, so usually there's not as many listed in the newspaper because it does cost money. But there's one place to look. It's usually in the kind of like the classified sections where people sell like trucks and stuff like that, and job, where you look for jobs and stuff like that. The next thing that I would look at, and one of the things I do since I don't get the newspaper, is I look in this paper that's called Merchandiser. And like I said, I don't know if this is just an area thing around where I live, or if this newspaper is in different states or not. I have no idea. But this is where I find majority of the yard sales that I go to. In this paper, it's nothing but like classified ads and stuff like that. Everything from jobs to just random articles about things, obituaries, cars for sale, just everything under the sun. And it also costs money to list in the Merchandiser. As far as if you're having a yard sale, it's going to cost money to advertise it in the Merchandiser. But a lot of people do, because it's one of the papers that many people go to as far as looking for yard sales. So they're in here, and I can't find them right now, but essentially, like, this is what the paper looks like. It's black and white, no colors, but this is where I find majority of my yard sales. And here, I'm gonna have to edit this while I find what I'm looking for, so just bear with me. Okay, so I'm just going to take a small section just to show. Here is just a small section, part of where there are yard sales. And now when you're going through them, there are a couple things to look for. Well, that I look for anyway. There's usually a description of some of the things that they have to offer. So if there's something in the description that you're definitely interested in, then I would highlight it. Also, it would have the date, the time that they start, and obviously the address. A lot of yard sales, people have them on Fridays and Saturdays, and I work on Fridays, so I can't go. So I'm more inclined to go to yard sales that are just on Saturday, because I figure if they had them on Friday, all the good stuff's probably picked out. And that's not always the case, because everyone's looking for something different. But those are just the ones I usually go to first, the ones that are Saturday only. So you'll just have to figure out exactly how you want to do it. Another thing is the time. Now, when you have a yard sale, like personally if you have a yard sale, people want to start yard selling before 7 a.m. in the morning. They call them early birds, and a lot of people don't like when people come that early because either they're not awake, they're not set up, or whatever. But if you plan on having a yard sale, which I might do a video on having a yard sale because I'm going to be having one soon, but if you are having a yard sale, you should expect early birds because they're going to come. Even if it says that you don't start until 8 o'clock, you're still going to have some people come in earlier than that just to see if you are setting up or anything like that. And if I were having a yard sale, I would have things set up before 7 a.m. because the people who are early and are looking for stuff, those are potential customers you're going to lose out on. Even though it kind of sucks to get up so early, it will benefit you in the long run. So I usually go earlier than what the times are. So that's another thing to look at. Other thing is with the merchandiser in my area, there's all different neighboring towns, and I sometimes don't like to travel to all of them, so I'll just look for ones around the town that I plan to be in that day. So yeah, let's just, oh, and another thing that I look for when I'm looking for yard sales is I look for community yard sales, ones where a whole development is having a yard sale. That way, you don't have to keep getting in the car and driving around to find one because there's usually like a whole street. Maybe of a whole street, maybe like 3 or 4 people are having one. So you can just walk around the neighborhood and just go yard selling that way. And those are the ones I like to go to first. So here's one that I would probably hit first because it's a community. And just like going through, I mean, some of them, like if they say as a description mainly like kids clothing and toys and stuff like that, I don't really ever bother because I don't have a child and it's not anything that I'm interested in buying. But sometimes they have other stuff than that. It just depends. But that's also something to look for. If you're not interested in buying that kind of stuff, then I would not bother going there. And same way, if something says like mainly like antiques or stuff like that, then I usually don't bother with that either. So it's just some things to look for. Now, like I said, this is my first way of finding yard sales, is in the merchandiser. Now, I also have another 2 things to discuss about like where to find them, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about as far as like when you're going to yard sales. Okay, yeah, there are. When you go to yard sales, most things are really, really cheap, like quarter, 10-cent cheap, you know, $1 at the most. So what I do is I usually have a coin purse that I take along in my pocketbook with nothing but like quarters and dimes and nickels and stuff like that, because that's what I usually end up paying for stuff. And then obviously cash for things that might cost more money than that. But for the most part, you are paying with change, so I would definitely have a lot of change with you. That way, if you're buying something for like 50 cents, you know, you can give them 50 cents instead of $1. But I mean, it doesn't matter, but I just, you know, like paying in my actual price. Let's see. Another thing that is good, especially if you're going to a community yard sale or like around here, there's a lot of church sales. Like a church will just have like a bunch of tables set up in like the gymnasium kind of area or wherever, and they, like people in the congregation and everything, like they'll just give them stuff to sell and then the money will go back to the church. And if you go to those and or like community yard sales, a good thing to have is like those reusable shopping bags, or even just like a large tote bag. That way you can carry everything in it, because sometimes people don't always have plastic bags for you to put your stuff in. I mean, they usually do, but if you come to the point where you don't have a bag and it just sucks to carry everything around in your hands. So that's another thing to have while you're yard sailing. And obviously, you know, make sure you've eaten before you went and have something to drink. Because especially in the summertime, it's really hot. And that's another thing. Around here, we only ever have them in like the summertime. Because it's just nicer. You can't have them in winter here because it's way too cold, and fall is pretty chilly too. So summertime is usually the only time that people have them around here, unless obviously it's indoors or something like that. Because there are some places that do have them indoors when it's chillier. But that's it for the most part. Now the other two places that you can look, one of them would be Craigslist, and that's the second place I look. Craigslist is free, so anyone who's having a yard sale normally puts it on Craigslist because it's free, unlike the merchandiser or the newspaper. So it's free to list on Craigslist, your yard sale, so that's the second place that I look. And a lot of the time, since it is free, the people that post on Craigslist usually don't post in the merchandiser or the Evening Sun. Well, the merchandiser or the newspaper, because it costs money. So if you know, there are people, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have a computer and access to the internet, but there are probably still people who don't. So the ones who don't obviously aren't going to see the ads for the yard sales on Craigslist. So it's definitely a good place to look. And the only other place that I know of to look is this app that came out for the, it's called, the app that came out is called, where is it? I know I have it on here. Or maybe not. I might have deleted it. Okay, no. The app is called Garage Sale Rover, and it's free to download. You can find it on like your marketplace. I have a Droid through Verizon, and this is what it looks like. It's called Garage Sale Rover, and then it'll give you a map, and then at the top you can look by the week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, yada yada yada. And I don't even see anything listed. And that's the thing about this app. I very rarely use it because it doesn't seem like it's very accurate. Like, obviously not all the yard sales are going to be on there. But you can see the places that have like a little balloon with the face. You can click on one and it'll say well, this one says multi-family yard sale. Now I'm clicking on the details to see what it says. And you know what? See, I don't use this very often, but it just basically puts you at the Craigslist page. So I guess it's good in a sense if you haven't looked it up on Craigslist before you started yard selling, that way when you have your phone with you. But that's the thing. Before I go yard selling, the day before at least, I make up an entire list of the yard sales that I'm going to. So I'll put down the address and everything. That way I know which ones that I want to go to. And with the yard sales that I'm going to, how do I want to word that? And then, you know, I have a GPS on my phone, so if it's an address that I don't know exactly where it's at, I can look it up on my phone while I'm out. That way, you know, I can always find exactly like where I'm going and everything like that. So that's essentially how I do. I will do a short I'll do a short video here of, I'll show you Craigslist if you are not familiar with it. I'd assume most people are, but just in case you you aren't familiar with Craigslist, I will show it to you. Okay, so here is Craigslist, and what you will find, well, here, let me go to the actual website. Here it will show you all of the states and then certain areas of those states. So like each area of your state probably has a Craigslist. So I'm just going to go to mine. Or no, how about I don't do mine? That way you can kind of just see that it's easy to find wherever you are. So let's just go, how about North Carolina? We'll go to Winston-Salem. I have no idea where that is. But you will find the yard sale advertisements under the for sale section right here. And it's down here, right here, it says garage sale. And then this will show you the dates and the addresses. Okay, so today is the 15th. So Saturday will be the 18th. So I would look for ones that are going to be on the 18th. Here's the first one on the 18th. So I'll click on it. A 4-family yard sale from 7 until. And that means 7 until they decide to close. They don't have a time where they're, going to be packing their stuff up. Then it says they're going to have clothes ranging from infants to adults and much more. So, that just goes to show you that it's very simple to find yard sales. I'm in, where did I say I was in? North Carolina? Now I don't know exactly where Winston, North Carolina is, but how about we try like a big city? Let's go to Baltimore, Maryland. See, it's probably going to be harder to find yard sales in Baltimore, but we'll check it out. See, and there is, but not exactly in Baltimore. It says Churchville, Boston, Fort Meade. So I guess it's close to Baltimore, but not in Baltimore. So if you live in a city, in a big city like Baltimore, your best bet if you want to go to yard selling is to check out towns that are right outside your city. Just like make a day of it or something. Here it says one that's in Baltimore. We'll see what it says. Someone's selling furniture, it looks like, because they're moving. See, I don't really see any that say exactly Baltimore. Here it says city yard sale. 2 impulsive shoppers must downsize to make room for each other. Fabulous shoes, designer clothes. Ooh, I'd love to go to this. Furniture, handbags. So yeah, see, you can even find yard sales in the city because it says it's in Baltimore City, and they got designer stuff, so that's awesome. So yeah, you can totally find yard sales pretty much anywhere. Let's see. Let's try New York, because that's probably really hard. I highly doubt New York City has yard sales, but we're going to see. Yeah, it's also like, you're going to have to like go out of the city probably to find any. There's Long Island. Well, here's a flea market. So yeah, you can probably even find, that's something I didn't think of, find flea markets and stuff in a city. That's probably your best bet as far as yard sales go, is to go to like flea markets and stuff. But if I lived in a city, I think that would be pretty awesome, just to check out all the different little shops and stuff. My gosh, it'd be awesome. It's like you wouldn't even need yard sales because you have like so many weird, interesting places you can shop at that you probably didn't even know were there. But yeah, that's basically how I find yard sales. If you guys have any questions about anything that I might have forgot to cover, just let me know. But I'm probably going to be having a yard sale of my own sometime here soon, and I will definitely do a video of how I go about having one, what I do, and all the steps to have one. It's very simple, but until then, I hope you guys liked the video, and I hope it was informative for you. But just let me know if you have any other questions.